This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, be a part of the community, and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by Hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Pewterball family farm, Hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Dealing with too much mash efficiency, alpha versus beta ranges, and getting rid of residual smells and flavors in a homebrew keg. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 398. Well, hello there, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you, my friend, have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could email joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com. You could text our hotline, but better than that, call our hotline. Leave a voicemail to 325-305-6107. When I use your voicemail on a future episode, you get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. I am one of your hosts, Joshua Stubing, joined as always by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com over there, Mr. James Carlson, and it's just the two of us. And James, I really appreciate your time, buddy, because...
Hey, no problem.
I know, you're very nice, and I try... every time I say it's going to be a quick episode, it's not. So I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to put that voodoo on here, just like I'm not going to say this will be the shortest small talk ever, because I don't know if it will. Every time I say that, it is not. But Todd had to go out of town. He's picking up the CO2 cylinders, and while he was on his way, he stopped actually in my town to do some work on a home here. So I know it's always hectic. Like, he leaves town and you're running the ship, and it's always hectic. So I appreciate your time. I will say, though, I am ecstatic for having CO2 in the very near future again. It was, I don't know how it was actually. I didn't use the office kegerator too much for water. They have, James always has water on tap there. That's all I would be drinking in the office. But at the barn, he has his cylinder off. He wouldn't, he was so scared of the scarcity of CO2, because I guess, how long has it been that we've been out? Like 4 weeks, maybe 5?
About a month.
Yeah, about a month. And so he was scared. He was just going to go completely empty. And then how do you serve? So we were dispensing just with what was in it. And he's like, well, if the keg gets low, then I'll turn it on. I was like, but I'm trying to make water here, boss. And he was like, sorry, tough. So anyway, I am excited about him coming back with CO2. That will be very nice. I will try to get through the small talk as quick as I can, friends. Also, at the top of the show, I do want to solicit your opinions either in the comments if you're watching at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, or you could text me, I guess, to 325-305-6107, or email me. Episode 400 is coming up. It's in 2 weeks, James. This is 398. First off, you've been with us for 348. I'm bad at math. You got with us, I think, right at episode 50 is when I think.
Yeah. Or it was in 2015, I believe. And Clay and I did 2 episodes back to back.
Right. And then you became a staple, I think episode 49 or episode. It was very close to 50, where I believe is when you joined full time on the show. I think you'd been working with Keg Connection for a while, and you were like, or for Sam Becker, pardon me, for a while, and you were like, why don't you do the podcast? I go, oh, it's kind of dead. And you're like, no, you should do it. It was fun. You should do it. And so people can blame you, Dragonfly Lady, on
my fault.
It's James's fault why we continue to do the show. But anyways, 400 episodes. That blows my mind that we even have had the content to do 400. There's much better shows out there that fall and fail before 400 episodes. So we outlasted y'all. Ha! I probably won a $5 bet somewhere. But anyways, let us know what you'd like to see on the episode 400. I can't shave my head. I think I did that one year. No, I shaved my beard one year.
That was a beard. Yeah.
It was beard. I think that was episode 100. I'm not opposed to any gimmicks. I did actually, somebody did say you should do the chat or the craft beer roulette on episode 400. That's a good idea. We could do craft beer roulette where we put the bad beers and the good, a couple of good beers, but mostly bad, spin it on the Lazy Susan and then have to chug the drink. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
But I told Todd, because I'm selfish and whatever, I was like, look, we should do it from the pool in the hot tub. And he didn't like that idea. So help us, friends. If, like I said,
we don't need hot water right now. I can tell you that.
No kidding. That is a good point. Although we're in a cold front, I think right now it's only 88 here in San Marcos. So
it's like 95 here.
Is it really?
92.
I bet you, you know what though, is my thing doesn't account for heat index. So I bet you it's 88 feels like 97 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, it's got 41% humidity, feels like 100 degrees. And it's going to be 90s all the way till Monday, and then it's going to be in the 80s next week.
Maybe the rain we're getting in San Marcos is going towards you, because I thought soon y'all were getting cooler weather like what I'm getting here now in San Marcos. Right. This week, it's not now through like Tuesday. It's not supposed to get out of the like low 90s. So I'm hoping it stays that way. Autumn's not here officially, but my wife did decorate. I'm ready too. She did. When I was gone out of town, dude, she decorated our house with all the fall stuff. And I got home and go, honey, you realize it's still summer? I know, but like I have the time and ugh. Anyway. Happy to be married. It's great, guys. So anyway, small talk. Let me get the relevant small talk out of the way. Guys, we are capping it soon. You have 1 week left. If you want to register, where's my slide? There it is. Alt-Pokal 2024 Altbier World Championships. It will be October 24th through the 26th. Right now, if we're at half capacity, which is what we're basically at, it might only be 1 day, pardon me, or it might be 2 days. We're going to see how it goes. But if you think you brew the best alt beer and you want to get a chance at winning an enormously gaudy trophy and all the acclaim of being a world champion, that's right, world champion, go register at Alt-Pokal.com. You could also go to HomebrewHappyHour.com and click on Alt-Pokal at the top. Same page, and some people have been telling me the link Alt-Pokal is like delayed or doesn't work for them sometimes. So just go to HomebrewHappyHour.com, click on Alt-Pokal, register. I think we have 22. We opened it up to 40. And if you're not brewing your alt beer within the next couple of weeks, there's a good chance it's not going to be a great alt beer. You need a little bit of time. But one more week. Today is, this is publishing on the 29th. So next week, whatever day that is, a week from today, that next Friday is when we're capping it. And then I will get the shirts ordered for everyone who's entered, and we're still going to have a good time. But yeah, Alt-Pokal 2024 Altbier World Championships. Come and join us. With that being said, if you're a member of the Chub Club at any tier, you get heavily, heavily discounted entry fees. So it's basically just to cover your shirt and the shipping. So you could go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, join any tier, and then go register. And then boom, boom, bam, bam. You're supporting us. You're getting a discounted entry, all that good stuff. And speaking of Patreon, where is that one? This month, last call right now, Todd's ESB. If you want to brew this alongside us this month, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. The recipe kits are waiting on the yeast, but they're all boxed up. Once that yeast comes in, we'll pack them up, get them shipped out. All the labels have been created and all that. So my friends in the Chub Club, currently, if you want your tracking number, text me 325-305-6107. I'll get that info to you. Life will be good, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, and come brew with us. Thank you to our sponsors, Munton's Malt, hopsdirect.com, and of course, Imperial Yeast, for always supporting everything that we do. Speaking of Todd's ESB, oh, wrong slide. There we go. Brew Day Live is tomorrow, August 30th, Friday, August 30th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Central. Come hang out with my pop and I as we brew this awesome kit. It'll be live at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. We're very excited to be brewing this, and we hope you can join us. And if you can't join us live, it does stay in the live tab of our YouTube channel. So watch it whenever you want. I don't care. You're an adult. Do whatever you want. Anyway, I do think that was actually kind of record time. It's only like 11-minute mark of the show, and I got through all the small talk. So, when Todd's not here, see, I don't get so distracted. With, I guess with all that, I don't actually have listener feedback. So here is, oh, what the heck just happened? I was trying to do the gong of questions.
Yeah, I just heard tut.
Oh no, why isn't it working? Oh, look, it disconnected me from my Bluetooth. Hold on, I'll fix that, guys. Bluetooth, there we go. Now do we get the gong of questions? Ha! Technology is not that hard. There we go. The gong of question means we've got a stat show, guys. We've got 3 great questions, 2 voicemails. Our first question is a voicemail. It is our buddy Nick from Seattle.
Hey guys, this is Nick from Seattle. I had a question. I've been adjusting my grain mill since my efficiency's been kind of low in the like 65% range. And my last brew, I ended up with my efficiency like 75% plus. I don't really know the exact number because my total volume was over target as well. So that's why I'm saying 75% plus. So, I mean, it's awesome, but now I have a new problem is I'm nervous on my next brew. I'm going to be way over target and end up with like an Imperial Pilsner or something. I'm curious if my only option is to just dilute with water if that situation happens. Some people have told me it's going to result in a thin beer, but I don't really know any other choice other than just make it, and if it is, adjust again next time, and continue playing that game. Anyways, if you have any input, let me know. Thanks. Keep up great work, guys. Bye.
Nick, it's a great question, and too bad Todd's not here because he's the king of my system is so efficient. But James, I think the obvious answer he kind of addressed would be, yeah, you boil it down or you add water.
Sure.
But what do you have to suggest, like, for maybe dialing in a consistent efficiency and then dealing with
first, absolute first thing I would do, Nick, is download Brewer's Friend. And the reason why you want to do that is I'm going in there now. I can go in there, set your profile up. They'll ask you some questions on your brew house and all of that. I think the default setting it could be 65%. But the cool thing about that is you plug your recipe in there and it will allow you to put your efficiency. So you can also work the brew as it's in process. It's called My Brew Sessions. I had to go in there to look at it. So I'm kind of cheating a little bit. But the cool thing about Brewer's Friend is as you enter in the data during your brew session, it's going to calculate your efficiency. Or if you know what the efficiency is, you can just change that number on your recipe edit page, and it will correct the volumes of grains and everything you need to do. It will adjust that recipe for that efficiency. So you won't have a thin beer. Now, me personally, I have no problem thinning it out if it's a little high ABV, but it depends on how much you add to it. Yes, it can thin the beer out, because you got to think, you're just adjusting for ABV. You're not adjusting for the flavor that's been created in that recipe. So yes, it is possible that you can thin it out. I have had to do that in the past. Generally, it's the other way around. We got to boil it down to hit target because I'm too thin. But like Todd, you're right. Todd's always bragging about the efficiency of his system. So he's already got that plugged in. So he already knows, because he's the only one brewing on that system, just like I'm the only one brewing in our Brautag here in the brewing room. So I kind of know it without even messing with it. So kind of have an idea what the flavor is going to be, and whether it's going to have the right body, texture, dryness, and all of that. It's going to be onto you on whether if let's say the next time you do it and you decide, I don't want to go into Brewer's Friend and download that. Most of the brewing softwares have that. Try it. Taste it, and learn. Make notes. Get you a specific notebook and write notes during the brew day, because you never know. For the people that think that it's thin, you could brew it and it could be absolutely phenomenal for you. Can't even say that word, but you might like it a lot better than somebody else. The thing about all of this stuff, it's so subjective. I never make statements like, oh, you must do this, other than sanitation. You must sanitize all your equipment. But as far as the process to get there to have that perfect beer, that's a cool journey that you can take on your own. I have my own ways of brewing, and I'm sure a lot of people out there would brew next to me and go, why are you doing that? It's all different.
Now, efficiency starts with the crush of the grain. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, well, what the theory behind that is, if you crush it finer, you have more of that starch inside the grain that gets exposed for starch conversion, especially if you don't have circulation. The cool thing about us is we can go a little larger on crush because we have constant circulation over the grain bed, and the Brautag's really good about circulating through the whole grain bed without tunneling through certain areas. And that's kind of the way we've got a raised false bottom. It's that far off the bottom of the kettle, which created problems with us when we were designing the system, because it kept wanting to collapse the false bottom. So we addressed that issue, got it fixed. But the benefit to that is, the false bottom, and we have a support ring and with bigger feet on the bottom and all of that, adds to the pieces in the bottom of the mash tun. But what it also does is, because the fact that it rinses so evenly throughout the grain bed, that you will see 80+% efficiencies with that. So you just have to adjust your recipe according to taste. And, like I said, everything's subjective. So what I think tastes good, another person would say, oh, no, that's not as good.
Well, and on the flip side, sometimes you're like, oh, this isn't that great. And we're like, dude, what are you talking about? It was pretty good. It is super subjective. For the person who wants to be prepared best for in the moment, obviously they're going to need a refractometer. When are some key points of the brew day to be doing readings to make adjustments on the fly?
I'll do it. The problem with temperature is it takes a while to stabilize. So it's not really, you can't get into worrying about that one. You want to hit your strike temp and target temp. As long as you stay in those ranges, you'll be fine. But if you think about it, if you're not getting the kind of efficiency you want, you probably want to double check, calibrate your thermometers, calibrate your refractometers so everything's reading correctly. Because a lot of times temperature is the only issue that can cause that. I can't remember when I've ever had grain and super low efficiency without a mechanical issue where it's temperature. Generally, if you have your grains, if you can see white when you crack your grains, you're going to be all right. But on a lot of people that are doing like brew in a bag brewing, they don't circulate. They just immerse, close, and let it set. So that's why a lot of people would brew in a bag. You keep in mind, it's in a net bag. So you don't have to worry about vorloffing because all that stuff's going to stay in the bag as you pull it out of the mash. So they're worried about a finer crush. So they'll actually, when we had the homebrew store, we'd have lots of people say, can you double mill it? Because they want it as fine as possible. They're not worried about particulates getting into the wort because they've got everything in a fine mesh bag that contains all of that. And they want as much of the starch converted so they create a finer grind. But with a Brautag or a 3-vessel Herms with recirculation, or even a Rims with recirculation, it's constantly got the wort flowing back over the grain bed. So it's able to rinse those and convert those starches out a lot more efficiently. And that's why with most recirculation all grain systems, you'll get that.
You'd be surprised how many Trub Club members also obviously brew in a bag because of double mill. You'll hear me up there like, God, Josh is doing a lot of kits this week. And it's like, no, there's like 20 of them are double milled.
Rerunning it through. Yep.
And then I come down in my onesie that I always wear and caked with flour all over my face. I don't know how, when we did the homebrew shop, y'all go up there, you do kits or whatever. I don't know how I'm the only one who makes a mess. Like, I mean, I am covered in it.
No, we were all making messes.
Okay.
That's,
okay.
Yeah, that's nothing new.
I just don't like, well, and I know too, I guess when you and Todd go up there to make a recipe, that's totally different. I mean, because if I make one for my pop and I'm not getting covered, but like you're doing 40 or plus in one day, I come down and I feel like I could do a whole kit if I just took it all off of my arms and face. And anyway, though, but yeah, efficiency, if you wrapping up his question, and Nick, it was a great question. We thank you for submitting it. What would you rather be if you had to pick? I'm not saying that, you know, one or the other is better or not, but if you had to pick your system to be more efficient than you planned on or under efficient in regards to fixing it after the fact, which would you prefer it lean? More efficient or less efficient?
To me, it doesn't matter.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
you just deal with what your system is doing. You can do what you can to increase efficiency, but don't chase that efficiency rabbit hole, because sometimes you can, especially if you try to over rinse it or over sparge, use the wrong temperature water, you can rinse tannins into the beer and make it bitter. It's just, you just have to accommodate your system and what it's doing with the recipe modifications. Most systems, most all grain brewing, you're going to be in the 65 to 75 range.
Right.
If you're below 65, then, contact me. You can go to cmbecker.com. At the bottom of the page, you'll see all my contact information, and I'll help you figure it out. But for the most part, if you go to chase efficiency to save a grain bill, it's wasted effort, because you're not talking about a whole lot. Think about percentages and just sugar. So gravity is sugar. Now, then you've got stuck fermentation. You got a whole other things to worry about besides the mash itself. You have potential for alcohol once you finish it, but then you have lots of other things to think about. You've got, what kind of sugar chains are you creating? Are you in the alpha, the long ones, or the beta, the short ones? Those are going to affect fermentation. They're going to affect body sweetness. That there's lots of other rabbit holes to go down, but chasing efficiency, I don't think
not
it's
one
worth
of them.
The effort.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. There was a time in history, I imagine, where before, like, gravity readings weren't a thing. I just mean, like, literally, right? Like, where they're just
when I first started brewing, I was just waiting for bubbles to stop.
Yeah.
And then hoping it wasn't sweet and stuck,
Yep.
But,
yeah. I know a lot of brewers, and I won't name y'all, but they're in our Trub Club. Some of them have even been on the show, where they've confessed to me that the end result of the taste is all they actually cared about. And they've got some of their recipes down to a T that they literally, I haven't done numbers on that recipe in 12 years or, whatever, just because they've got, it's like the back of their hand. They've got it so figured out. Their brew day is the same. The system is the same. The water profile is the same. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. They don't even do readings.
My whole purpose on taking notes and taking readings and all that is I want to be able to duplicate it if I have a fantastic beer. Or if you have the same beer you brew all the time, you may not even need to do it.
Right.
A lot of times I've been brewing mainly Pilsners now, and I don't even do a recipe. I just go up and I have everything in my head. I know where I want to be. I know I want to be in the beta. I stopped doing mash outs on the Pilsners. And that was the biggest difference between the beer I brewed the last batch and this current batch for Pierce's birthday party. I didn't do a mash out. So and I think what happens when you don't do that is you don't create the brow tag takes a while to get from. I'm mashing in the beta range, which is about 145 degrees. But the process that it takes, and generally if you split it up and you do a 45-minute primary mash, and then you raise the temperature and go to a 15-minute on the higher end, and then do a mash. That's why I used to do it. I would do a 45-minute beta, I do 15-minute alpha, and then I do a mash out, which starts conversion, and then it would get me in the temperature range where I could rinse the sugars and get more of those sugars off the grain bed. But what happens when I try to make, because I like real dry Pilsners, and I don't want any alpha sugars created, so I try to stay in that range, and that's why. And Todd does it the same way. He'll rinse the grain bed he'll blow it into the mash tun. I mean the boil pot, from the mash tun in the boil pot, almost empty, and then he'll heat the water up, the sparge water, and then he'll do a sparge. And I tried this on that last batch, and it tended to keep the body where I wanted it to be. The good commercial equipment, you could change temperature really quick. They have a lot of power, a lot of thermal energy to do that. We don't.
We don't. No.
We have one 5,500 watt element, and if we had two, it would be a lot easier. But it's all relative. It's what you think you like, and subjective, and at the end of the day, it all depends on what you're creating, and do you like it? If you like it, that's the way you do it.
Exactly. And like you said, it's so subjective. Just do it how you like it. And with that. But yeah, Nick, like James, to reiterate what he said, brewer's friend, or whatever software of your choice, use the calculator. Mm-hmm. That's your friend. And as long as what you're brewing, hey, an Imperial Pilsner sounds interesting. Let us know how that turns out, Nick. Thank you so much for submitting the question. A reminder, my friends, when you call our hotline, 325-305-6107, and leave a voicemail, and then I use that voicemail on a future episode because I'm desperate and I'm probably going to use it, get yourself a $25 gift card to Keg-Connection.com. You could text that same number or email Joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com and still get yourself a $15 gift card, which I think is pretty good. Like our second question for the show, James, it's our buddy Lucas from Tacoma, and he wrote, longtime fan of the podcast, even though I'm not much of a home brewer yet. I started listening with a close friend during work commutes, then he moved away, but I kept listening week to week. My man. Now that I am wanting to start brewing, I have a question about alpha and beta ranges when mashing. James has mentioned these before, but I don't really understand. Could you talk about the basics and what the temperature ranges might be for alpha versus beta, or for alpha compared to beta? Could you also please let me know which styles of beer benefit from mashing in one range over the other? Last part of my question, is there a general temperature sweet spot that would work for all styles so I don't have to think about it too much? Thank you so much for the weekly entertainment, and I hope my question is worth Todd's money. Lucas from Tacoma. Lucas, spoiler, all questions are worth Todd's money when I'm handing it out. So you get $15 and you get 25. And it's a good question. You kind of touched over it. And as you were talking alpha beta on the last one, I was like, I did it again. I put two questions back to back that bleed into each other, but I didn't want to stop you. You were on a roll, but you didn't go too deep. So perfect. Lucas has a great question. We do talk about alpha, beta. We've never deep dived. Obviously, I'm not expecting a deep dive because that could be a whole episode of its own. So I'm not expecting like super deep, but can you give the basics of what those words mean? Alpha range, beta range, what the temperatures are.
I'm going to have to do something a little different.
I'm ready. I'm
going to move the camera, and you see that whiteboard, ignore the scribble on that. That's how I keep track of orders. Well, what I'm going to do is and hopefully you can hear me, but it's easier to draw it out so you can visualize what I'm talking about.
Perfect.
Okay. So is that good?
Oh, that's perfect, dude. Yeah. You're great. Oh, even better. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when you're talking about beta, now let's say beta, typically beta is from like 130. I can't draw. And the reason why it's messed up, because you think beta should be the higher and alpha should be but it's backwards, okay? So you're talking about beta. And that's 130 to 150 degrees, typically. All right? So let's say that this is here. That's 130 to 150. Okay, alpha is 150, let's say it's 152 to 167. Okay? And let's put that there. All right, now, the sweet spot when I first started brewing beer was right there. And everything that I read said, if you want to meet in the middle, you can be between 150 and 152 degrees. All right, I mean, you probably can't see that, but this is the beta, colder temp, and this is the alpha. Okay, and once you see that, it's easier to visualize. Now, I'll show you why. I feel like a teacher.
I love it, dude. This is great. And you said you can't see it. No, it's perfect. I put it full screen and it's looking good.
Okay. So when you do a beta sugar, what you're doing is you're just doing, let's say this is a beta sugar molecule, right? Okay, the yeast chomp it up, and it's pretty much fully fermentable. And what that means is light body. God, I can't write. And low sweetness. All right. So that's why you see a lot of like a Cole should be a good candidate. The way I brew. Now I'm talking about, I like a lighter body, the simpler beers, the stuff that's easier to drink. And session beers, same thing. I like them drier, less alcohol, all of that. But that's the beta. So when you get into alpha, it's a little different, and I'll show you why. So if you're doing alpha, and what did we say? It's either 152 or 154 to 167. Just say it's 152 to 167. Now this is the alpha and sugar molecule, and that is, think of it, it's just like chainmail. So now this is sugar. So the yeast will come in and they'll hit these and eat them, but it'll leave a good amount of unfermented sugar just because of the sugar chain left in the brew. And so that's going to equal big body and sweetness. And this is why you would want to do, like IPAs, you want to mash in the alpha range. And the reason why is you're going to be adding mega hops to it. So you want that extra body and sweetness to kind of counteract the hops, kind of complements each other. Another brew where you would want to stick with this would be like Josh, your stout, your coffee stout.
Yeah, the breakfast stout, yeah.
Yeah, so you want to have that body and that sweetness to accentuate what you're trying to do with the recipe. I don't happen to prefer those kind of beers. So I stick mainly on the other side, the light, easy drinking, low alcohol, Pilsners. An alt beer is kind of a both. I mean, you've got mashing. I think when I mash with alt beer, I actually do a 30-30. I do 148 and then 156, I think. So I split that up, but because we're adding a little bit more hops, we're adding more bitterness to the beer, and we want to counter that off. But I tweaked that a little bit, and I've done it both ways. I've done beta. It makes it for a little thinner bodied alt beer, which I kind of like. But it all depends on what you like. I mean, and what you're brewing. Something like that.
I do like that rule of thumb though. Like you said, easy drinking, beta, and complex or bigger bodied or a lot more hops or whatever, alpha. I mean, that is it. But like you said, that sweet spot, I've always thought 152 was the sweet spot as well. That's kind of been what was taught to me. what we've done, what we've recommended to people. But that is good to know. And like I said, I appreciate the drawing. That was even deeper than I thought. Like, I love that. Like, Cody Hubertus, you're put on, like, he was the last person to bring out the whiteboard, and now it's James. We got 2 whiteboards.
But he's way better than I'm not an engineer, guys. I've just played one on the podcast.
No, you're good. The mic.
Oh yeah.
No, I still hear you now. But yeah, we heard you. I appreciate you moving it. We heard you well. That is a good rule of thumb to remember. And again, this is one of those things too, like James said, we say on every question, and it's not just to solicit comments, but allow me to solicit some comments. What do you think in regards to your rule of thumb for alpha and beta? Is there a different sweet spot that you prefer?
Oh, I got a huge thing. So here's the deal. If you only mash in beta, you'll have a beer you can drink. If you only mash in alpha, chances are pretty strong that you'll have a beer that's so thick and chewy and sweet you won't want to drink it.
No, I like it. So
keep that in mind, depending on what it is. I have brewed beers where I wasn't paying attention to the temperature and mashed it almost out of alpha range, and I dumped it. It was just cough syrup. I just didn't like it. So keep that in mind. You're safer on the cooler side than you are on the warmer side. And I'm sure I'll get a ton of feedback.
I love it.
But I'm just telling you.
You did my job.
From my experience.
Where did you get comments?
My experience is that you're safer on the closer to the alpha or the middle than you are trying to risk getting way in, because you can mash all the way up to 160 degrees. I can't imagine how cloyingly sweet and chewy that beer would be.
When I'm trying to, I mean, I don't want to be stereotypical because it's a big beer, but like a barley, would a barley wine be in the high 150s in the ones? I mean, I'm trying to think of what you will even.
I would think a lot of the really heavy stouts would be the ones in that range.
Okay, pastry stouts.
They got so much other stuff, like the real dark roasted malts that can kind of make the beer a little acrid, or gives it that flavor. That with the stout, you got to respect that recipe, because there's a lot of stuff there. If you pull one segment out of it, it wouldn't be worth drinking.
There's a lot.
But it all works together and complements each other. Each other part in that recipe is dependent on another part, if that makes sense. So, yeah, stouts are, it's not my thing. Unless I'm in Rio Dosa and there's 2 foot of snow on the ground and I got a really good cigar.
Yeah.
Then I'm good. I'm good with the stout.
That is another, like, my pop and I love brewing it. We love sharing it, but that's why it does stay in the keg for a year or 2 years, because we're also cold body drinkers for the stout. When my dad, we're about to host a thing for my kids, an anniversary of hers coming up in September. And so we'll put it on tap because there's some weirdos in my family who do drink it when they come, but it's like a pour of it, a 10-ounce pour. And then that's all they're having. So that it does. I agree with you. It is a style, or as opposed to the Pilsners y'all brew or the Kolsch's or whatever, those kind of just fly through.
Yeah. And it doesn't weigh you down, because typically a lot of stouts have lots of alcohol. So they're big beers, big in alcohol, big in flavor, big in sweetness. And I like to enjoy beer. And if I was just going to have one with a cigar, then that'd be fine. But nothing beats a hot summer day and, a tall glass of cold.
Oh, yeah. So any lawnmower beer. Yeah. Pills. Yeah.
Bowls. Oh, yeah. I would even say alt beer for that matter, because it's kind of the best of both worlds.
It really is. And Kolsch, obviously not just my shtick, guys. I could drink it every day, all day for all seasons. But alt is more satisfying, especially in the cooler months, because it has that crossover. Like it's, but yeah, it's a good alt, which I am looking forward to Alt-Pokal, because we're going to have some good alt probably. And it's
I was so impressed last year. I couldn't believe how good all the alt beers are. It made me feel like a subpar brewer.
It made me feel like a genius for getting all these people to send us good alt beer. Like, come on, I don't get enough credit. I'm a Kolsch and alt, and they're sending it to me. Life. Yeah,
it was amazingly. I was amazed at how good all the alt beers were.
So
Some of
good.
them were absolutely top shelf.
So good. I forgot to say it at the top of the show during small talk. I had so many people say, if you do a pale ale competition, I'm in. So maybe we do rotating next year, or we add a third one. Because they also, all of them did make sure to say, I don't want anything to go away for Alt and Kolsch, but adding like a rotating one every year. So we could do the Kolsch Cup Q1, we could do the Alt-Pokal Q4, and at some point mid-year do like a pale ale. And then the next year maybe it's something different and rotating, and that. It would be fun. And I didn't realize in our community that dozens of people entertained. A lot of them are actually up for competition. That's never crossed my mind, probably because I'm self-conscious, honestly, as a brewer, where I'm just brewing for what I like and what my pop likes. And if our family who come over to my parents' place and drink it and enjoy it, then that's just a bonus. But I'm not brewing for them. I'm not brewing for you, cousins and uncles and aunts. I don't care. I'm brewing for me. But anyways.
Well, but the thing about brewing a lighter beer like a Kolsch, I mean, who doesn't like a Kolsch?
Who couldn't like a Kolsch? If you're a beer, if you
or pills,
or
you know, I mean, alt beer is something different. I mean, not everybody likes an alt beer.
Yeah,
I remember the first time I presented mine at a trade show. It was HomebrewCon in Philly. No,
Minnesota.
Was it Minnesota? Was that the first year we did the alt beer?
When that judge brought his friend back? Yeah.
You remember the one guy that kept coming by and he says, he wouldn't even try it. We just try it. I don't like alts. You may like that. No, he wouldn't. So some people will not, they have their own beer that they like and they won't go outside that range. That's what's great about homebrewing, is you can brew what you want.
You brew what you want. Yeah, absolutely. But that was the same year that judge of, I don't remember what style he was judging that year, but remember, he loved your alt, and then he went and got his buddy, who I don't know if he was a judge too, and I think they drank half of that 5-gallon keg themselves. They kept coming back, and that was the year we were only representing CM Becker, and so we had the V10 serving it and all that, and like the guys like. I always liked homebrew cons, and by the way, guys, we are going to be at Homebrew HQ at GABF this year. Yep. I'm trying to get some interviews lined up beforehand so that we can help them promote and all that, and we'll have good content. But I am bummed still that it's not traditional homebrew con. They're doing a club night that Wednesday. We're not going to be there. We're getting there Thursday. But it's like it's $30 to enter, and I don't know how many. It's a different thing for HomebrewCon this year.
So they're having a club night on a Wednesday.
They are the Wednesday before. I know.
Should be a Friday.
Should be a Friday. I agree. Yeah. I have opinions, but I also am in this weird gray area. I know they're open to criticism, but they did give me media passes for us, so I don't know how much I have to suck up. I got to look it up in the guidebook. There's an etiquette guidebook of sucking up I could probably download. They gave me free access. What can I say in criticism? That
was pretty cool of them to do that.
It was super cool. We're very grateful.
And we're going to road trip there. So
we are. It's going to be a blast. I forgot where I was even going with that, why I said anything about GABF. This is the problem with me and digression, guys, and getting older, and I'm bald. I can see that on the camera. Anyways, I'm just going to wrap up Lucas's question. Lucas, thank you so much for submitting your question. Remember, guys, if you text 325-305-6107 or email joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com and I use your question on a future episode, you get a $15 gift card, and everyone's happy and life is good. But even better, you call into that hotline of 325-305-6107. You leave a voicemail. Then you get yourself a 50. Or pardon me. Whoa. A 25. Woo.
Back up.
Woo. Todd was it. Woo. When did we do 50 recently? Anyways, you get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. Like our third and our final question. Wow. You know what? It's a very Pacific Northwest episode. We had Nick from Seattle, Lucas from Tacoma, and our third question is Nate from Oregon.
Hey guys, this is Nick from Seattle.
Hey guys, it's Nate from Oregon. I had a very simple question. I recently ordered the root beer soda base from you guys and really enjoyed it. But when it came time to clean the keg, everything still tastes like root beer. So I've tried scrubbing the inside of the keg with soap and water, rinsing really well, and then I ended up soaking the keg with a couple scoops of OxyClean and very hot water. I even forgot about the keg for a couple of weeks and left it in there. When I finally went to go clean it out the rest of the way, it still smells like root beer. So my question is, how do you guys remove this very strong flavor or smell from the keg? And the second part is, if my keg smells like root beer, does that necessarily mean that it will transfer the taste into my next batch of whatever I make, or is it just something that will dissipate over time? Thanks, guys. You're doing a great job as always. Bye.
Nate, thank you for that. And also, I forgot the gong of questions every time. There it is. There's the gong. It was going to come. I want to start it off by saying I'm not confident. I'm not confident. I could just leave it at that. James, I'm not confident. Anyways, moving on. No, I can't, I've been around Keds for 16 and a half years now. I was the chief keg washer. When I started with Keg Connection, Todd was still working another job, and he was gone Monday through Thursdays, and he would come back Friday. He was a regional manager for some company, and I was washing Keds all week. And I remember dumping some of the nastiest Keds ever. I mean, I'm talking like rodents in it and dripping syrup, because these Keds were soda Keds. They had colas, root beers, Sprites, every soda you can think of, depending on Balllock or Pinlock, depending on that was what determined what was in the keg. Brew Clean and the very early versions of it that Todd always used, soaking it in that kind of detergent cleanser. He did say he tried that with the OxyClean, which is a detergent cleanser, and you should have similar results. But I will say I had to not just do the keg. You do the gaskets, the post. I mean, we took things the Keds that had very strong aromas to it, we would soak them by disassembling everything, not just the keg. And that seemed to be the only thing. But I will also say, Nate, some of them would have a little bit of that smell left over, or actually sometimes the Brew Clean leaves this kind of residual Sprite smell. It's very similar to Sprite. I've never had it transcend into the batch of beer or water or whatever I was serving afterwards. Can you think of I had neither. The only thing I can think of is if you're using regular AccuFlex beer hose, which probably 90% of the people out there with the draft system, if you've ever pumped root beer through those lines, I just replaced the hose. Well, you read my mind. That is what I was going to say is more crucial to the next batch as opposed to the smell in the keg. Yeah, but you nailed it. Even the O-rings on the dip tubes and on the lid O-ring, all of that gets contaminated. Probably the best thing to do is the stainless. So much, I'm not worried about that because we get those come in and we replace the O-rings and we use Brew Clean to clean those, and I've never had a root beer tasting beer, and I brewed from lots of kegs, several that I know had root beer in them because it has a root beer tag on the outside. Yeah, but I think probably it might be a beer line issue more than it is a keg issue. Yeah, I'm with you. That's literally where I was going to take it. Where I was going to say, if you were serving now, actually, it does. He did actually make it and served it. I do know people who do soda and they dedicate a line and a keg to it. Kind of like I know people who, absolutely. Other people with kombucha. I know what you're about to say. Kombucha, a sour beer, or a sour beer. People dedicate equipment to it because of or even cold brew coffee. I know we that probably is one of the easier ones to get the smell out of. But remember, Todd had bought a lot, like literally a space lot, not like he bought a container of kegs from a cold brew place, and some of them had very strong smelling residuals left in it. Soak it in Brew Clean. I think, what is the average water heater? 120, 115 degrees? Well, I don't know what it is. I have mine set at like as high as it'll go. That's what my wife does too, and I can't get in the shower with her. I don't know if that was on purpose now in hindsight, but I want to say it's running, the hottest I can get out the tap is probably 115, 120 degrees. But most of the stuff's probably around 100 degrees. Yeah, but my point being, like, if you can do Brew Clean bath or Brew Clean soak at the hottest your water heater and for an hour, and that has almost solved every problem I've had with like beer stone or smells or whatever, and that might be in a keg. And also, like I said, taking a bowl and putting components in it like faucets and gaskets and disconnects and whatever, and letting them soak in very hot brew clean solution. And that has always worked for me. But at the end of the day, you might need to just go to keg-connection.com, Nate, and use promo code HHH and buy another keg and get 5% off your order. You might have to.
And beer hose. Definitely want beer hose.
No, you're right. We got to circle back to that before wrapping up his question. That if you were serving out of that line, obviously soak your faucet and all that. And if you're going to do any other beverage through that line that's not a cola, you do probably need to replace those lines because root beer, it permeates and it stays. And it's delicious, but you don't want your next batch of beer going through that line being tainted by, unless it's a root beer, imperial, coffee, pastry, IPA, hazy, dishwater stout.
That sounds terrible.
It sounds like something people in Colorado would drink.
I'm sure somebody's made a root beer float stout.
Giving us ideas. In 2026, the Root Beer Stout Cup, my friends, register at the Root Beer Rouser, or I'll think of some alliteration for it. Anyways, though, I think we nailed it. Where and not just pushing Brew Clean because it is something that Todd developed and that we sell there. He's not here, so y'all can't say I'm sucking up to him because I don't even think he listens to the show. Even when he's not on it, I don't think he listens. Todd does his homework before presenting things with our banner on it, like in regards to y'all CM Becker regulator. That took a lot of development before y'all felt comfortable putting the CMB brand of a thumbs of approval on it. And the Brew Clean, he worked with Logic, I believe, is Rick.
Yeah, Rick from
Rick from Logic. He worked with him for a long time, and his father, or Todd's father, the chemical engineer, for a long time ago. He's about to be 90. It was a long time ago. They worked together to make this solution specific for the equipment and for Beerstone. And like I said, residual flavors and all that. So I push it because it is a good product, but OxyClean is also really good. So I don't know if you found yourself soaking it with OxyClean in the very hot water and it's still there, that keg, it might not impart in the next thing you serve from it, but if that line was still the root beer line, you're certainly going to get that perception of root beer in it. So you could always just replace the line and then try with the current keg, or again, not making light of the situation, but you might just need to get a keg that's dedicated to root beer. And it sounds like you have one already. So you might need to get a replacement keg for other batches of stuff that you're doing. The good thing is, kegs are back and available at keg-connection.com. Go to Facebook Marketplace if you don't want to fall for my telemarketing scheme, right, that I'm doing right now. You can source them locally if you don't want to pay the low price of $9.95 flat rate shipping on any order at keg-connection.com. All right, I'm done. That was all the telemarketing I have, and I think we wrapped up his question pretty good. I think we covered it. Sure. And that also means I'm out of questions. Final reminder, guys, if and when you call and leave a voicemail like Nate and like our buddy Nick did to 325-305-6107, I use that voicemail on a future episode. Get yourself a $25 gift card to keg-connection.com. Mr. Carlson, I appreciate your time today, my friend.
You bet.
You were a ton of help, and if you weren't here, I was going to make an excuse for why we couldn't do an episode. So thank you so much, and I will see you soon, my friend.
See you.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could email joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com. Oh, I don't want to hear the sound of my own voice, but no, yes, you do. And you want a $25 gift card, so you're going to call it in to 325-305-6107. I think I have the world record for saying one single phone number on a 1 hour episode of a podcast the most amount of times. I'm going to check with Guinness. Anyway, thank you to our show sponsors like Muntins Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Muntins, why not? Give them a try by joining our Trump Club at recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of premium imperial yeast along with delicious recipes from us. Again, join the Trump Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of the absent Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I am Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.